The Little Things is written and directed by John Lee Hancock. It stars Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. This movie takes place in Los Angeles, and it's about two police officers who are trying to track down a serial killer. There is a serial killer on the loose who is specifically killing young women, and this seems to be a case that is hard to solve. As these police officers are trying to solve this case, one of the police officers is struggling to confront dark secrets from his past. I was pretty excited for The Little Things for a couple of reasons. Number one, I thought the trailer looked very intriguing. I love the cast. Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. All three of them are Oscar winners, and they're very talented. If you had to ask me who I prefer out of the three, I would say Denzel Washington. That man has given phenomenal performances for decades, and I'm so glad he's still around, still doing that. Anytime Denzel Washington is in a movie, I'm automatically interested. And I thought the combination of how good the trailer was and the cast that's attached to the movie, that this could be a possible Oscar contender. Now, for those of you who don't know, the upcoming Oscar award show is doing things a little differently this year. Movies that are eligible for the 2020 Oscars are films that came out from January to December of 2020 and January and February of 2021, which is why you're seeing a lot of upcoming potential Oscar movies this month and February. So this movie is eligible for the upcoming Oscars show. In any case, I was very excited for this movie. I saw The Little Things on Friday in theaters, and I have to say, I was very disappointed. The Little Things is by no means a terrible movie, but it's one that I thought that could have been a lot better. By far, the best thing about this movie are the performances. I already mentioned how great the cast is, and I thought the three main actors tried their best with what they were given with. Denzel Washington plays the police officer who's trying to solve the case and has a dark secret that he's having a tough time trying to confront. And Denzel Washington is very believable as a cop. I mentioned before that he's a phenomenal actor. He can play anything, and he's very believable. Same with Rami Malek. Rami Malek is also very believable as a cop. I like his chemistry with Denzel Washington. I think when they both interact in the movie, it's interesting to see because they're both very talented. And Jared Leto plays the suspect of the case, and I thought he was very good. I heard some mixed things about Jared Leto. Some people said he was good, and others said that he was too over the top and too goofy. I disagree with that. I thought when he showed up, when his character shows up later in the movie starts to regain some momentum. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I thought the way the character was written and how Jared Leto is in real life in general, I thought it was a pretty good casting choice. So I liked Jared Leto in the film. All three actors I thought were solid. The thing about this movie is that it has a promising first act. The opening scene is well directed. I was on board with this film for like maybe 20 or 25 minutes, but as the movie goes on, I thought it became very uninteresting. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I thought a large portion of this movie was very boring. And it's a shame because that setup, as I mentioned, was solid, but as the movie went on, it just became so lifeless and dull. Here's the thing. You've seen this movie 1,000 times before, and you've seen it done better. If I could compare this movie to any other film, it would be Seven, the 1995 film starring Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, directed by David Fincher, one of my favorite movies of all time. I would not say The Little Things is a ripoff of Seven, but there are definitely some similarities to that movie. The Little Things lacks many elements that make Seven great. Seven had compelling characters, a very interesting mystery, consistent pacing, and an ending that will stick with you. The Little Things barely has any of those things. I already mentioned that The Little Things was written and directed by John Lee Hancock. John Lee Hancock, some of his movies are The Blind Side, Saving Mr. Banks, and The Founder. So obviously The Little Things is something very different than anything he's done before. I always admire when a filmmaker tries to do something he or she has not done before in his or her filmography. And I commend John Lee Hancock for doing that, but unfortunately the execution overall was just not for me. I also mentioned that Jared Leto, when he comes in, it starts to pick up some momentum because the whole second act I just was not really invested in. But when Jared Leto comes and he has some scenes that are some of the best scenes in the movie, like for example, there's an interrogation scene I thought was the best acted scene in the entire film. And there's a sequence towards the end with him that I thought overall was effective. This movie has solid scenes, but surrounding it is just mediocrity. It's really it's that screenplay that's the problem, because this movie attempts to dive into Denzel Washington's backstory, and initially I was interested, but because of how mediocre the directing and screenplay was, I just found myself not caring about anything at a certain point. And the way the film concludes, I have some conflicting thoughts because I'm not going to spoil anything, obviously, but it concludes in a way that makes you think outside of the box. And it's not a terrible ending or anything, but it honestly doesn't feel earned because of how the movie was overall. If the movie was better executed, had compelling characters, and the mystery was a lot more intriguing, and I was invested throughout, then maybe I would have been okay with that ending. But due to the execution of the movie overall, the ending overall, it just didn't feel earned, I guess I could say. This is just a mediocre film, as I mentioned. There's nothing really special about it. I mentioned before that you've seen it 1,000 times before. I don't need every movie to be completely original. There are some films that are not original but are very well executed, and I don't care. But with this film, it just feels so half-assed. And I don't want to be too harsh, but I'm surprised that the actors who are on this movie signed on to be in it, because if it wasn't for the actors, it really would feel like a mediocre Netflix original film that you probably would never have seen, because Netflix has a tendency to not market all their films well. It's a shame. Now look, I know a lot of you are excited for this movie, and I have a couple of friends who watched it and gave it a positive review. So even though I did not like the movie, and if you're still excited, I would still say to check it out. Maybe you're going to like it. I'm just someone who likes to talk movies with you guys and gives an honest opinion in everything he says. So my honest opinion is that I was excited for this movie. I wanted to like this film. I was let down. The first disappointment of 2021 for me. I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 10. It's on HBO Max. I went to the theaters to see it. Like I said, Warner Brothers is releasing all their movies in 2021 on HBO Max and in theaters on the same day. So if you have HBO Max, you can see it at home. I'm glad I saw it in theaters, though. I will always support the theatrical experience, especially during this time. So let's hope the next HBO Max movie that's also coming out in theaters will be better, which is Judas and the Black Messiah. But Little Things gets a 5 out of 10, and that's my review. Thank you guys for watching my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be back very soon with another review of a show that I watched recently. I won't spoil what it is, but I'm happy to talk about it. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Take care.